Donald Trump winning the New Hampshire primary. The former president victorious over Nikki Haley, though by a smaller margin than in the first matchup in Iowa. ABC senior congressional correspondent Rachel Scott is at the Trump campaign headquarters in Nashua. Rachel.
Byron, Donald Trump taking a victory lap here in New Hampshire and taking on Nikki Haley, calling her delusional if she thinks that she has a shot in this Republican primary. The former president appearing on the stage with two of his former rivals, Senator Tim Scott and Vivek Ramaswamy. That was intentional to send a clear message that he wants the party to coalesce behind him. With that win in Iowa and now New Hampshire, he is one step closer to clinching the Republican nomination. Byron.
Rachel, thank you. Eva Pilgrim is at Haley headquarters in Concord, New Hampshire. Eva.
Byron, Nikki Haley is moving on, heading to her home state of South Carolina, saying while New Hampshire is the first in the nation primary, it is not the last. Her campaign feeling the momentum here, the crowd, the excitement palpable, telling this crowd that she is a fighter and she's scrappy, and calling on Donald Trump to get on a debate stage with her and have a debate. Byron.
Thank you, Eva. A record number of voters turning out in New Hampshire today, some polling sites even requesting more ballots. I got a chance to talk with some of those voters recently in their home state.
You know, we won New Hampshire 3 times now, three.
Tonight, an anticipated win in New Hampshire for former President Donald Trump, inching one step closer to the GOP nomination, beating Nikki Haley.
She's doing like a speech like she won. She didn't win, she lost.
But in a race that came down to just 2 candidates, his opponent narrowing the gap with Trump, trailing by less than she did in Iowa.
New Hampshire is first in the nation. It is not the last in the nation. This race is far from over.
Historically, New Hampshire's first in the nation primary has been a game changer.
Our electorate is very, very engaged. You know, Iowa picks corn, New Hampshire picks presidents.
And here, it's a close contact sport.
We do get to meet and see up close and personal all the candidates, but it also comes with responsibility.
Responsibility that's born results. The last 5 winners of New Hampshire's Republican primary went on to become the party's nominee. The state has a unique electorate. The majority of voters are not affiliated with a party, meaning they can vote on the day of the primary for either party.
With such an equally divided state, you really do need to appeal to people not only in your base, but also in the center.
And that's why we showed up at Mary Ann's Diner in Derry, New Hampshire, where folks of every political stripe show up here for breakfast.
I like Trump's policies, but himself as a person, I'm not keen on, the way he talks about people, the way he acts towards people and stuff like that. I voted for him last time, so,
So why not this time?
Just because of the craziness. I don't know. I just didn't like what happened at the end with the Capitol. It was a sad moment, I think, for our country.
January 6th was also a line in the sand for Matthew Bartlett. Born and raised in New Hampshire, he was working in the U.S. State Department that day, appointed by Trump himself.
I distinctly remember walking home and just seeing the Capitol, seeing the mayhem, and feeling such utter disgust, and made a very easy decision in my life, which was, dear Mr. Secretary, I hereby resign immediately. Candidly speaking, I think these were January 6 terrorists.
This year, it's not clear what role January 6 will play at the ballot box, if any.
It could be an impact, but I think it'll be small. The bigger impact is the economy and the border. Those really, every day I hear those 2 issues over and over again.
Bartlett is one of the 70% of Americans who think that things aren't going well in the nation.
But more than anything, I worry about the attitude of our party. I am much more interested in someone who's eager to lead America to better days than some of the revenge-style guttural politics.
He says he hopes his former boss does not get the nomination.
Is Donald Trump fit to serve as president of the United States again? Listen, in my opinion, no. I think we got plenty of better options out there.
Whether I want to admit it or not, on January 6th when I walked in that building, I did become something else. What that is, I don't know.
Jason Riddle was there on January 6th. The New Hampshire resident says he walked through an open door right into the Capitol, drank from an open bottle of wine, and stole a book from the Senate parliamentarian. He served 90 days in prison after pleading guilty to 2 misdemeanor charges, theft of government property and illegally protesting inside the Capitol. He says he's still unpacking how it all happened. How does a gay married man who voted for Obama become a Trump guy?
Like everything else back then, in my mind, it was everyone else's fault.
He'd taken an oath to defend America's democracy as an Army and Navy reservist, had once been a federal government employee working at the post office, and even served as a corrections officer.
You know, whenever things didn't work out, I would just move on to the next. I was ignoring a lot of problems the whole way.
And problems, by you mean what?
I'm an alcoholic.
Because you're an alcoholic. That's what alcoholics do. They drink.
They drink and they obsess. I wasn't a Trump supporter. I was a Trump obsessor.
Riddle says he was drawn to the negative attention that came from being a Trump supporter. He calls this shirt his trouble jersey.
What
does that mean, trouble jersey?
Because every time I put this on, someone would see it and get mad, and they'd come over and I'd get a reaction, and we'd blame them for judging me for what I'm wearing.
He says he knew Biden beat Trump in the 2020 election. He just didn't care.
So we walk towards the Capitol building, and that's when things started getting a little weird.
What do you mean a little weird?
People with weapons. And that became part of the routine with Trump rallies, too. You got a little used to violence before January 6th.
Court documents citing government surveillance footage state Riddle was in the Capitol for 14 minutes. He says he left the Capitol grounds as soon as he heard a woman, Ashley Babbitt, had been shot and killed by Capitol Police.
I looked up and I see all the cops and they're starting to work their way in. I remember thinking they can start shooting us right now. They were perfectly within their rights to open fire. They very well could have, should have. I don't know. Excuse me. I'm a little stuttery.
The FBI found him in a matter of weeks, and when law enforcement later came to his home to arrest him, he turned to the bottle once again.
My goal, because I hated myself, was I want to get everyone to hate me as much as I hate myself.
He was sentenced on April 4th, 2022. Part of his probation included mandatory alcohol treatment.
It wasn't a punishment, it was a rehabilitation. And anyone who, in their mind, thought it was a good idea to drive down to the Capitol building for something they knew was nonsense is in need of rehabilitation. And that should include and not be limited to the person who told us to go there in the first place.
There are a number of good and decent people in our country who love and support Donald Trump. What do you say to them?
And it's this false narrative that if you don't vote for this 80-year-old, you're going to get that 80-year-old. And I think that's wrong. I think that's a lie.
So, how do you see yourself?
See myself as a former insurrectionist. I took part in what Trump is trying to do in dismantling our civil union. And now, so everyone has a choice on what they can do.
His choice this time around is to vote for Nikki Haley.
I think you could use a lady's touch right now. We've been letting the guys run the show for a while. Let's see what a lady can do, you know?
I appreciate it.
We heard at least a hint of that sentiment most places we went.
She seems like the most common sense person.
I was a registered Democrat, and I changed affiliation so I could vote in the Republican primaries.
Our goal is just to be strong. We wanted to be strong in Iowa. We felt good with that. We want to be stronger in New Hampshire, and then we want to be even stronger than that in South Carolina. We're in it for the long haul. We're going to get it done.
We always wanted to have a strong second. That's the only expectation we ever laid out there.
Haley's next stop, South Carolina, where she'll appeal to her home state voters in exactly 1 month.
Hey guys, good morning.
Haley banking on support from independent voters like Michelle Wilson back at Mary Ann's Diner, who voted for Obama and Biden.
You can't bring yourself to vote for Trump. You're not going to vote for Biden, therefore you're left with Nikki Haley.
I don't so much say I'm left with Haley as much as I feel that she's going to be a better candidate to put my eggs in the basket. I gave Biden a shot. Trump had his shot. And neither one of them left me feeling in any way, shape, or form complete.
Rick Klein joins us now, ABC News political director. We're here at the Big Wall. You've been here all night. Rick, what happened? Nikki Haley promised that she would keep this close because of independent voters.
Yeah, well, we saw a big turnout. We saw big numbers, but we also saw a Trump romp. And it is interesting because on one level, you can look at this and say Nikki Haley kind of actually delivered on the big promise. This is the number of independent voters who took part in the Republican primary, as they're allowed to do in New Hampshire. That's a record number. 46%. That's almost half of Republican voters that actually weren't even Republicans coming in. It wasn't enough for Nikki Haley. But when you start to look inside those numbers, you look at her numbers in the suburbs and in some smaller rural towns that trend to be a little bit more liberal, numbers among female voters, you see the weaknesses in Donald Trump's coalition. So, yes, Trump wins big, but there's big question marks surrounding his candidacy.
Where does she go from here? It's tough sledding for her in her home state of South Carolina.
Yeah, that's the next big contest up, and this is the 538 polling average, and it's been brutal from the start. Go back to last year, and Nikki Haley has never been even close to Donald Trump. Now, there's not a lot of polling, to be fair, but 35 points. I mean, that really is a lot. And if you look at where we stand right now in the process, only 2 states have voted, right? You have all these other states all the way through June before the nomination is technically settled up. But if you start to hone in on what's coming up, this is where the math gets really tough for Nikki Haley, because the next big contest is in Nevada. She's actually not even on the ballot there for the caucuses. And right after that, boom, her home state of South Carolina. She has to win there, functionally speaking, if she's going to have any chance. And then if she does that, you move into Super Tuesday, and you start to see a couple of places that allow independents to vote, just like they did in New Hampshire, places like Virginia, Massachusetts, even the big state of Texas. A lot of delegates there. But this is kind of a scattershot strategy. It's hard to maintain if you're losing, how you can start to get delegates along the way.
So what I hear you say for Nikki Haley is all uphill, and she's wearing roller skates, right?
Yes, and her home state's got to deliver for her. It's kind of the perfect manifestation of all these issues she's run against. She's got to win back home.
Yeah, Rick Klein, thank you so much. When we come back, our Powerhouse Roundtable breaks down tonight's vote.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.